God damn! I tried to believe that even though LeBron and AD, the reigning defending champions, are who they are, that somehow, some way, the Clippers would show up, Max. That's what I thought, Max. That's what I thought. But you know what? January 11th, Stephen A's World debuted on ESPN Plus, and Snoop Dogg, when I asked my brother from another mother, Snoop Dogg, what about the Clippers? He said, the Clippers, please. I mean, he damn near started laughing. Actually, I take it back. He did laugh. Now we know why. Molly, Max, and your boy is in the house. The Clippers. Evidently, that's going to be a theme for this show. Kawhi.
Game 2 between the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. Luka's got a pass to the basket all the way to the hole.
Wait a minute, Luka. I didn't know you had that in your game.
Break it off, and the foul.
Oh, no.
That's not fair either. Luka gets the triple on the move. Wow. Hardaway for 3. Got it! The shocker of all shockers so far. The Dallas Mavericks have stunned the Los Angeles Clippers.
It's hump day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to First Take. Thank you for hanging out with us. That was a heck of a tease, Stephen A. Smith. I'm fired up for today. Middle of the week, we're ready to go. Max Kellerman looking dapper as usual. And gentlemen, you know where we're starting. The Clippers. So Luka Doncic, a wrecking ball, 39-7-7, as he leads his Mavericks to a commanding 2-0 lead over Kawhi, Paul George, and the Clips. Keep in mind, both those games were back in L.A. Friday, they head back to their home turf, Dallas. Ty Lue, you getting concerned?
I'm not concerned. Like I said, they got to win 4 games, and you come in on a opposing team's floor and you play. There's no pressure on you to make shots because you're supposed to, you just try to come in and steal a game or steal 2 games. But now they got to go home and try to keep up the same shooting. So it's easy to come on the road and do that when there's no pressure on you. So we'll see in Game 3.
There is none. There is a competition. We got to rise to the occasion. Fact of the matter is, if we don't, we're done for. But there's no level of concern.
No level of concern. Stephen A., is Kawhi the problem for L.A.?
Hell yeah. And by the way, let me say this. We all know how much love and respect I have for Ty Lue. And Paul George is one of my favorite peeps and one of my favorite players. They both lying through their damn teeth. Don't lie to the American public like that and tell them you ain't worried. Hell yeah, you worry. You know why? Because I'm going to say it on ESPN, you're getting your ass kicked. That's what's happening right now. That's what's going on with the Los Angeles Clippers. We've got a situation where Kawhi Leonard has dropped 41. I understand that. But this is why I'm not letting him off the hook, Max. And Max, you know where I'm going, baby. I'm very, very predictable with this. Ain't nobody questioning the greatness of Kawhi Leonard. A matter of fact, I'm asking for significant validation on both ends of the floor. Luka Doncic is the best player in this series. Period. 22 years old, second time in the playoffs, and busting their living you know what. He gave it to you in the bubble. He put you on notice that he was there. Did you see the disrespect that he showed to the Clippers? I mean, Max sitting up there, he cussing them out in Slovenia. What is Slovenia? I don't know what the hell he's
Eastern European languages.
I mean, it's a European language.
None of us know.
Cussing them out, talking smack. Yo, Patrick Beverly, you too small. Yo, Kawhi, you can't deal with me. Whatever this person, you too damn slow. Talking smack to them while dropping 39 on them, busting their little butt. And then to accentuate the level of disrespect, this dude is literally shooting 3-point shots off of one leg, leaning off his left leg, and just throwing like he playing a game of horse. And playing with them, talking smack to them, busting their little living you know what. I know what Kawhi Leonard did in the first half. I understand he ended the game with 41, but when it really, really counted, where the hell was he? Couldn't be found. But you could find Luka, and I don't want to hear anything about Paul George. Paul George shot 54% from the field, even though it was only 1 for 7 from three-point range. Last time I checked, he's the second option. He did drop 28, okay? He showed up. Kawhi Leonard is the one with the crown dangling from his mirror. Kawhi Leonard was the one with the New Balance commercials in his convertible. Kawhi Leonard was the one that said, yo, King James, it's a new king in town. Last year, King James was waiting for him, okay? You gave up a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference semis and got bounced. And this year, on the same night that the King showed up in Phoenix with Anthony Davis, understanding they couldn't afford to fall to 0-2, they handled their business. And on that same night, Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers found themselves in a 2-0 hole to a Dallas Mavericks team that looks better, that has a 22-year-old who is better than anybody that they got right now, and busting their living, you know what. I'm going to say it one more time so everybody understands, that even though I know that this is Disney, it's the Disney Channel, it's the kids, and we love the kids. Stevie A love the kids. He sure does. Bottom line is, Clippers getting their ass kicked. They better handle it. They better handle it.
You have a lot of shows. What show is this again?
Stephen A's World.
What show is this?
Plus.
What show is this?
This is First Take.
Okay, because I feel like we entered Stephen A's world just now. Because only in Stephen A's world does a dude show up, drop 41, 6 and 4 with 2 steals, 9 out of 10 from the free throw line, 14 of 21. He's hitting 2/3 of his shot from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. Talk about 50, 40, 90 with 41 points. And in your opinion, he's the problem. It's not Kawhi Leonard is not the problem, Stephen A.
Okay.
Now, Paul George had a nice game, except, by the way, 4 minutes and change left in the game. He finds himself being guarded by Kristaps Porzingis on the perimeter. On the broadcast, they're yelling. Put it on the floor. Now, you put it on the floor, it's a one-possession game.
Yep.
Who's going to stop you in the paint? It's a one-possession game. Instead, he shoots, misses, of course.
Yep.
Doncic the other way, 7-point game, right? So in key moments. Now, why are these things happening? You're blaming Kawhi. I'm blaming Ty Lue. Ty Lue is the issue right now. Now, he could make in-series adjustments, and he better, because it's not just that they're getting their you-know-what's kicked. It happened twice at home, as Molly points out. That's a problem. But Ty Lue is the issue. Why did you get Rajon Rondo? What was the point in bringing in Rondo? For these moments, to organize your offense, especially under pressure, to give yourself, when it matters most, a big 3. How many minutes Rondo played last night? 19 minutes.
19 minutes.
Reggie Jackson played 30 minutes. Reggie Jackson, of all the starters, right? Reggie Jackson was minus, I'm forgetting already, minus a lot. So Paul George taking a jump shot over Kristaps Porzingis in what could be a 1%. If Rondo's in the game, you think all these things are going down the same way? It's not. That's not on Kawhi.
In fairness to your argument, I can understand where you're coming from because Rondo definitely needed to play more than 19 minutes. That is what you brought him here for, Max. I don't disagree with your point, okay, in regards to that. I'm also not letting Marcus Morris off the hook. Here's why. Marcus Morris, you're a damn good player. He's a damn good player, and he's a glue piece to the squad. What the hell are you doing fouling out? Because you setting the move and pick, and you get your elbow or your arm up to somebody's face with under 4 minutes or around 4 minutes left in the game. You have any idea how pivotal you are? You know you got 5 fouls. You're a seasoned veteran. This is a playoff game. You can't make that kind of damn mistake, Marcus Morris. You better than that. That man is a good player, and you have glue pieces to every team. Marcus Morris is one of those players. You can't make that kind of mistake. So I thought that was a very valuable thing that happened. You can't foul out of that game. That's number 2. But I'm going to get back to why I'm pointing the finger at Kawhi, because I'm not looking at just numbers. I know what Kawhi can do offensively. I know offensively in terms of his efficiency and what he brings to the table. This brother's top 5 talent in the world. I know how elite Kawhi Leonard is. But we also talked about his defense. And that's what made him special. He was an MVP in the finals because of his defense. Although LeBron averaged 28 against him, LeBron shot 37% from the field back in 2014. That helped, and a lot of people credited Kawhi, obviously, with that, and he got league MVP. You came after you won the title in Toronto. You came to L.A. with that mantra, that reputation. And this dude, Luka, giving it to them. And I'm not talking about just giving it to you. I'm talking about talking smack to each and every one of you and your teammates. I'm talking about you as a guy in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's face. I want you to shoot the damn ball. Shoot. Got all in this mug. You look at the little elements that LeBron brings to the table.
That's Rondo. Wait,
that is not Kawhi.
That is not Kawhi. That is Rondo's job. That's what he's there for. We knew that wasn't Kawhi. That's why you bring Rondo in. The team defense is also on Ty Lue. It's not just a Kawhi issue. That's coaching. And I want to clean something up real quick, Molly. I was talking about plus minuses and stuff. All the all the Clippers had minus, right? Because they were getting outplayed. The Clippers bench was outplaying the Dallas bench. But the guy with the lowest plus minus of the starters was Kawhi, -7. Everyone else was much worse. It wasn't him. Okay. And Rondo.
We got your point. Okay. We got your point.
So Max says it's coaching. You say it's Kawhi. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
So white men can jump.
Huh?
So white men can jump.
Some.
Yeah. Luka being one of them.
Yeah. No, he can shoot. Luka can't really jump.
Luka's an alpha.
Let's get to the other LA squad. The Lake Show caught a break because Chris Paul was held out for most of the second half because of the right shoulder injury he suffered in Game 1. I felt sick for CP3 having to watch that game on the sideline. The young Suns came to play, but it wasn't enough. LeBron, how do you get AD going?
You said you were looking forward to seeing AD in Game 2, and obviously he had a much more aggressive game. In the game to get him maybe some looks or some opportunities for him to be more aggressive.
Give him the ball early, often, and always. It's that simple. He responds to games like Game 1. He's not a guy who talks about it. He's about it. And he goes out and does it. So, give him the ball early, often, and always.
No 7 seeds ever won the NBA Finals in NBA history. Is that something that gives you extra motivation during this playoff run?
As a group, we don't look for bulletin board, motivation. We're motivated because we're in the postseason again, and as a team, we have an opportunity to do something special. No matter what seed you are, if you get into the postseason, you have an opportunity to do something special, and we're one of those 16 teams that made the postseason. So, we look forward to it.
All right, the Suns hung tough, but it wasn't enough. Safe to say losing, not LeBron style. With him on the team, the Lakers are 6-0 in the postseason following a loss. They're also winning with a statement in those games. They're holding their opponents to less than 100 points. No word yet on Chris Paul's status for Thursday night's Game 3 in LA. Stephen A, how do you feel about the Lakers after that win?
I'm very worried. I'm very worried. Lakers showed up like a lot of love and credit. It's not only Anthony Davis, that's obvious. LeBron, some big time shots. Andre Drummond showed up, and he played very well. And Dennis Schroeder was outstanding last night. Deserves a lot of credit. But I got to tell you something about this Phoenix Suns team. The more I watch them, the more impressed I become by them. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw out a name last night, Max, that nobody would think I would mention. That kid, Cameron Payne, filling in for CP3 because CP3's health was compromised, and Monty Williams made the choice to sit him down because that wasn't CP's choice. He was trying to labor. He's trying to labor through it. Monty Williams was like, nah, you clearly hobbled. That showed you can't dribble the ball right, can't pass the ball right because that shoulder is really, really hurting him right now. And God bless him. I'm so sad for him because every time this guy can make that kind of a difference, the postseason time, somehow he always gets hurt. And I just feel so bad for him. Yeah. But I got to tell you something.
Snake bit.
This kid, Cameron Payne, showed up last night, lot of heart, had 19 points, 6 of 15 shooting, showed a lot of heart. Of course, you look at a guy like Devin Booker, and he's going to be what he's going to be because that's who he is. He dropped 31. But DeAndre Ayton, second game in a row, 11 for 13 from the field. That's 84% shooting. Shot 90% in the first game, had 21 points. Shot 84% last night. Finishes with 22 and 10. DeAndre Ayton, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Cameron Payne. I'm looking at Bridges. I'm looking at Cameron Johnson. And where the Lakers got in trouble and they lost that 15-point lead is because those young Lions sat up there and said, y'all are bigger, but we don't believe you stronger. We damn sure know you ain't faster, and we gonna get all up in you. And they got in at the Lakers, got them real uncomfortable, and I found myself saying, I picked the Lakers to win this series in 7. I'm not going to jump off of it, But I'm looking at the Lakers going back to that arena for a Game 7, and I said, oh, my God. And by the way, just as an aside, Max, the crowd there in Phoenix last night was fantastic. And then I'm looking at the Clippers have fake whatever the props or whatever it is in the stands at the Staples Center. I'm like, what the hell is that? Okay, because remember, I was at the Staples Center last week for the playing game against the Warriors. That wasn't what was there for the Lakers game. Why the hell was it there for the Clippers game? That gives me back to Snoop. Clippers.
By the way, if the Clippers ever do wind up playing the Lakers, it'll be packed with Lakers fans, whether it's the Clippers game or not.
Let me tell you something. That's a home court advantage.
Yeah.
Going into Phoenix, that crowd last night was sensational. They had me feeling hyped about basketball being back. You ain't got to worry about a Game 7. It ain't going to get to a Game 7. You don't have to worry about a Game 7. I thought originally it would. I don't anymore. It would with Chris CP3 without question.
But look, you said it. That dude is snake bit. But I want to give you 3 reasons the Lakers got this. I'm confident. Number 1. Are we forgetting that toward the end of the regular season, no LeBron, Suns on a roll, AD gave him 42, and I think it was 15 in a win? Are people just forgetting that? Lakers beat them when they were squad up, and the Lakers weren't. That's 1. Number 2, the Lakers just split on the road. You're good, man. You just took home court. You're good. When you go into someone else, the number 2 seed or the 7 seed, you go to their house and you get a split on the road to start the series, you're good. And 3, you brought it up with CP3. I feel terrible for him. He's compromised. He's snake bit. I bring up Stephen A. We still butt heads about this one. I think if CP3 would have been available against Golden State when he was in Houston with Harden, they could have won that. I think they would have won that. But here he is again. He's clearly not going to be his normal self throughout the rest of this series. The coach is keeping him out of a game. He'll come back. He'll play. Are you expecting the best version of CP3? And let me tell you why that's a huge thing. Without CP3, you said Devin Booker. Book's going to do his thing. Not the difference with, like, Book can play on ball or off ball, just like CP3. They're great combo guard backcourt. But as you always call CP3, the quintessential point guard, that's right. Booker, even though he can do those things, is the quintessential mini Mamba. He's that off guard who will kill you. Once he is more responsible for the offense, and he can't just do his Mamba thing, that makes him, he's still going to be great, but that's not the ideal role for Booker, even with Payne. That's not the ideal role for Booker. For all those reasons. What's that?
That wasn't it, though. They were doubling Booker. They went big, and when you take away the interior because you got such massive size with Drummond, with LeBron, with AD, when you do that, plus you're willing to double Booker.
Well, let me ask you. I understand.
It still could have ended up similar in terms of his results. You might have gotten more production from somebody else.
Right, sure.
But they're clearly willing to take that chance because Devin Booker is their version of Mamba.
If you have Booker on your team, you don't want to use him as a point guard. You would rather not. You would rather use him as a weapon.
I didn't view him as a point guard last night.
I think he had a little more ball.
No, I'm just saying, they gave it to him to make a play for himself.
Okay. But the fact remains, no LeBron, they win with AD. They got a split on the road, and now Chris Paul is compromised, whether you agree with that other point or not. Lakers are going to take this in 6, maybe 5, but I'll say 6.
They got a lot of size, and I think that Monty Williams and Phoenix has to figure out a way to make the Lakers go smaller. See, it's one thing for you to go big. It's another thing entirely for you to stay big. You look at Anthony Davis. He played 39 minutes, 58 seconds. You look at Andre Drummond. He gave you 24 minutes, 22 seconds. Okay, LeBron obviously gave you 38 minutes as well. If you are able to keep size on the front line and you don't take advantage of it with your speed being smaller, it's going to compromise you. And I think that that's what the Lakers have to figure out. The Suns have to figure out. I think Monty Williams will be able to figure that out, at least to get one more victory in this series, possibly 2. But I'm going to stick with my Lakers prediction of going 7 games. Winning
Still
7.
just so unfortunate they didn't have Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Chris Paul,
and AD,
man.
He bounced back like we expected. 13 points game 1, 34, 10, and 7 last night. We'll keep it rolling. More playoffs to get to. Up 2 games to none. Kyrie Irving now heading back to Beantown to play in front of those fans in Game 3. Wait till you hear his comments about the city of Boston. And wait till you hear what Stephen A is predicting could happen with the Aaron Rodgers situation. Packers fans, you want to be sitting down when you hear this. That's next on First Take. If CP3 wasn't hurt, do you still think the Lakers would have won? series. The Nets putting in that work. Joe Harris, 25, KD 26, and right to a 22-point win and a 2-0 lead over Boston, who was without their star Jason Tatum while he was poked in the eye. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's Jeff Green left with a bruised foot. Max Kellerman, are you impressed with Brooklyn or are you embarrassed for Boston?
No, I'm impressed with Brooklyn. Brooklyn can do that to anyone. Brooklyn can do that to anyone. You blink and it's 10 point, 18 point. Like it's unbelievable. And what I say, I keep on bringing up Joe Harris because in the history of sports, when has there been a fourth option that's going to be wide open on every play like Joe Harris? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The Brooklyn Nets are, I mean, they played together 8 games in the regular season and now a game in the playoffs. They barely played together, and I don't think they can be stopped. And I really don't think anyone can take them 7 games. Just on what I see. Again, Joe Harris dropped 25 points. He did it as fast as you could blink. He was like, oh, my God. What are you going to do to stop them? Like, how do you stop them? What are they going to do to stop other teams? All they have to do is not be the worst defensive team ever, and they're going to be fine. I was very impressed with Brooklyn.
Why would you waste a minute and a half talking about Brooklyn like that? They ain't play. I thought you said the series was over in 3.
Yeah.
That they have no. So it's just that simple. And Jason Tatum got poked in the eye, and there's no Jaylen Brown. This series shouldn't even be taking place. Right. It shouldn't even be taking place. We have not seen the Brooklyn Nets yet, as far as I'm concerned. Haven't even seen it because what are they playing against? Boston has nothing. I feel bad for Boston because I really, really wish Jason Tatum was healthy and Jaylen Brown was there and healthy. Because then, I'm not saying I would find out a lot about Tatum and Brown, even though they would still lose the series. The only thing that I have to say about Brooklyn other than that is it's nice to see Blake Griffin playing basketball.
Are you more embarrassed for Boston?
No. I'm not embarrassed by Boston at all. They're hurt. They're not there. But remember with Blake Griffin, I was saying he didn't want to play in Detroit. Yeah. It's not that he couldn't play.
Turns out he can still play basketball.
He can still play?
Yeah.
High basketball IQ for your 11th option.
Let me shift to something that you might actually want to talk about. So the series now shifts to Boston. Whether Kyrie's, where we know Kyrie's tenure didn't exactly end on a high note, he will now play in front of Boston fans. This is for the first time since leaving for Brooklyn now that the COVID restrictions have been lifted. Kyrie, he shied away from the mic lately for much of the season, but he certainly had some choice words for the city of Boston. Take a listen.
I mean, it's not my first time being an opponent in Boston. So, I'm just looking forward to competing with my teammates and, hopefully we can just keep it strictly basketball. There's no belligerence or any racism going on, subtle racism and people yelling from the crowd. But even if it is, it's part of the nature of the game, and we're just going to focus on what we can control.
All right. Let's bring in a man right now who won a chip in Boston. Kendrick Perkins, my guy. Good to see you. Again, back at the house. I always like to see that. Who wants to start on this one?
Yeah, Perk.
I'll start with Perk. Okay, Perk, cool.
Perk has played, so he would know.
What's your reaction to Kyrie's comments there?
Well, here it is, right? You have mixed emotions because, first of all, you want to give Kyrie credit because he does a lot in the community. He does a lot for social justice in the community, and his actions are really in the community. All right, he goes out there, he always gives back, he always speaks up, and I get that, and I applaud him for that. But far as my personal experience in Boston, when I was 18 years old, all I heard was that you're going to Boston, it's a racist town, you got to be careful. When I got there, it was a completely different story. Now, was it the case because I was a player? I don't know, maybe. But I've never in my 8.5 years experienced racism in Boston, and I just didn't. I mean, it was to the point where I had some of my best years in Boston. Well, I would spend my summers in Boston. That's how much I enjoyed being in Boston. And I was like, it's not what people say it is. And if you look back and you look at guys that say things like Kevin Garnett at his Hall of Fame speech, he said, only regret I had is that I didn't come to Boston earlier. He loved the city of Boston. He loved it to this day. I understand we won a championship. But on top of that, I had my uncle named Kevin Cooper who moved with me when I was 18 years old, moved with me to Boston when I first got drafted. Guess where he's staying at right now? in Boston. He's still out there. He moved out there with a whole family. He has a family now, about to be married and everything. I done been to the hoods in Boston, meaning I done went to Roxbury, Dorchester. I used to go out there every Sunday. I done been to all the other upper class communities. I stayed in one. I spent Thanksgiving I spent Thanksgivings at a few times at white Americans' homes where they embraced me and my family, my neighbors. One of my good friends who was a white American died like about 5 years ago, excuse me. We called him Piggy. He died of a heart attack. I flew down there and went to his funeral. Great man, great guy. Used to always have my kids over at his house. So I can't speak for Kyrie Irving personally, but I could speak for Kendrick Perkins, and I could say that I didn't experience racism. I actually had a great time when I was in Boston. I actually was around great people that were not the same color of me, and it was good.
Well, I can speak. I can speak about it. I'm not a former Boston Celtic. I know plenty of people who happen to be black that has spoken negatively about racism in Boston. I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist, but I'm going to tell you this. I think it's a phenomenal sports town. I think the actions of the few shouldn't taint the many. And that's why I'm going to say that Kyrie Irving was wrong to do this. He was flat out wrong, because I don't think this is about race at all. When it comes, if you go to a Boston Celtics fan, when they are against you, it's because you're not a Boston Celtic. It's not because you're black. It's because you're not a Boston Celtic. Now, again, we got race issues in New York. We got race issues in Atlanta. We got race issues all over this country. So let's not act like it's confined to the streets of Boston, Massachusetts. Okay? And if you're Kyrie Irving, here's why he's wrong. He's negating his role in the vitriol he's received and he's anticipating receiving from the Boston fans. It was Kyrie Irving 2 years ago, October 4th, if I remember correctly. Brian Scalabrine was hosting, emceeing some event to the Boston Celtic fans. It was Kyrie Irving sitting there next to Gordon Hayward, sitting next to Al Horford at the time. And Kendrick Perkins, you'll remember this, Kyrie Irving stood up before the crowd and said, I have every intention on re-signing with this team, if you'll have me. And then he got up and left. Might that not have something to do with them disliking you? I think that might have something to do with it. And so when we look at it from that perspective, you are now the enemy because you decided to depart from them, to go to another team as a free agent, to coax Kevin Durant into coming with you, because that's why Kevin Durant's in Brooklyn, because Kyrie Irving wanted to be in Brooklyn. KP knows this. Everybody covering the NBA knows that. It wasn't the other way around. KP followed Kyrie because that's their boys, and KD wanted to go where Kyrie went, and Kyrie wanted to go to Brooklyn instead of MSG. It is what it is. The point that I'm trying to make is, sure, you can make a case. There has been some things that have been spewed in Kyrie's direction. I have no doubt about it. Racially insensitive, racist even, okay? But that doesn't speak for the entire city of Boston. And more importantly, I don't care who you are. You are white, you are black. If you ain't a Boston Celtic and you are about to go against the Boston Celtics, whatever they find to talk about you that they believe has the potential to get under your nerves, they will do that. Kyrie Irving knows that. Get on the court, handle your business. This was not the place or the time to bring up that when there's a history that shows, oh, they're getting at you strictly for basketball reasons, not because you're black.
The Chris Rock line. I'm supposed to be mad and politically correct at the same time, but I think this is actually a complicated issue, guys, because remember, Bill Russell, you know, he didn't want his jersey retired in front of the fans because of what he had to go through. But why did he go through it? There. A lot of white America, period, wasn't ready back then for black stars. And the thing about the Celtics is, let me tell you a story. I once I was uptown at some spot with Eric B. and Rakim, and Melly Mel was the greatest rapper of all time once upon a time. Melly Mel, this is going back, I don't know, 10 or 15 years at least. And I saw when I got to this spot, Melly Mel, who's from the Bronx, he got a Celtics jacket on. I'm like, hold up, time out. When I was a little kid, idolize this rapper. He's from the Bronx. And what are you doing with a Celtics jacket, Mel? He's like, always been a Celtics fan. Celtics started the first black starting five, right? So part of the reaction in Boston is because the Celtics trailblazed racially, and so they experienced more of a reaction. That's number one. But number two, we hear this from athletes from time to time through the years. Not just Bill Russell, but it from other athletes too. And you think maybe there is something to it. I don't think, probably it's exacerbated because in the 80s, the greatest rivalry ever, right? Lakers versus Celtics. The Celtics' biggest stars were white, and the Lakers' biggest stars were black, and so that kind of reinforced what had come out of the 60s and 70s, right? Where really they were really experiencing racism partly because of what I mentioned before. So it's not an easy issue, but I'll say this, Perk. Your experience is your experience, and I would never doubt that. But I hear enough coming out from athletes about their experiences in Boston that makes me think something's going on.
I want to ask you a question, and I understand, Max, that there's the history, but I want to get back to something Stephen A said, and I want to get your opinion on this, Perk. Do you think by Kyrie this could potentially be strategic or calculated because the vitriol he might face when he returns to Boston, and that he wanted to get ahead of the narrative here?
It is, and I was going to go to Stephen A's point and said it's a great point because my thought process was this. If the Brooklyn Nets were playing the Indiana Pacers or the Charlotte Hornets, right? Think about this for a second. It's racism all around America right now. It's been racism all around America. I grew up in Southeast Texas, in Beaumont, Texas, where they had 45 minutes from me, the James Byrd killing, where the man was tied to the back of a truck and drugged for 10 miles or so, right? I grew up in an area where they have a predominant white area called Vida, Texas, where we're taught as African Americans never to go there, Kendrick. Don't ever go there. Where they found a young black African American teenager on the railroad track, shot dead, and nobody knew nothing. Nobody was charged. It just went a cold case. So we deal with racism everywhere in America. My thing is, would Kyrie have said that if they were going to Indiana? Would he have said that if they were going to Charlotte? It's racist people in Charlotte. It's racist people in Indiana. I experienced when I've been in the Indiana series, okay, when we've been in the playoffs, and one of my teammates, and I will not say his name, had an alcohol problem, and everyone knew it, okay? And I've heard people yell crazy stuff at the stands. I heard a white American yell to him, knowing that this guy had an alcohol problem. Hey, such and such, you want a beer? You know what I mean? Just shoot little stuff out there like that. I mean, at the end of the day, man, look, you know what happened, Kyrie. You know what to expect. And this, to me, you got to take this heat, not racism, but you got to take everything that's coming for as what this crowd is about to give you, for as booing and chanting at you and doing whatever, because you laid this bed, so lay it. I'm not talking about racist slurs. I'm talking about the energy that you're about to get. Trae Young just embraced the hell out of New York.
Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers made his first on-camera appearance with Kenny Mayne on his final SportsCenter show, addressing the strife with the Packers, saying it's a difference of philosophy, and highlighting the first-round drafting of Jordan Love, saying it's not about love, it's how the move was handled, not on the up and up. GM Brian Gutekunst has admitted he mishandled it as such. Here's Aaron's coach.
Aaron definitely knows how we feel about him. You know, how he's such an important part to our football team, such an important part to our organization. And, you know, we're just going to continue to try to work through this and hopefully can get him back in the building at some point.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Keep in mind the MVP quarterback is missing OTAs for the first time in his career. Super Bowl champ Jeff Saturday joining the program. Top of the morning to you, sir. Always good to have you. We'll get to you in a second. And I always like to remind everybody you did play with Rodgers for a season. But I am coming to you, Mr. Smith. I always feel like this subject's a little personal for you.
It is.
Do you believe Rodgers will sit out?
I hope he does. And I think that it's an incredible possibility because I think that when you feel disrespected, all bets are off. And I think that's the thing that people don't realize about this. Now, obviously, we've seen far more examples than not of people caving in, but that's usually because of financial situations. You want to make smart business decisions. You don't want to paralyze yourself and compromise your bottom line. But if you've been Aaron Rodgers and you've been in this league for 15 years and you've made an exorbitant amount of money, and then you're hosting Jeopardy and you had the highest ratings of anybody when you did host Jeopardy, and you talking about the potential of making 10 to 20 million a year hosting that show or anything like that. It's not like you're devoid of options. You have options. And when you have options and you compare that to feeling disrespected, that's when it comes in. What bothers me about the whole Aaron Rodgers situation is everybody acts like, well, you know what? It's about winning games, and that's all that it's about. That's not all that it's about with professional athletes. It's the priority. But when you come to work every day and you don't like where you're working, you don't like who you're working for, you feel underappreciated and disrespected, and then you start looking at your comfort zone. What do I have available? What can I afford to do? Because guess what? Some things ain't worth it. And I will remind everybody, and I'm going to bring this up, Jeff, Saturday. Irvin Magic Johnson was the president of basketball operations for the Lakers. Irvin Magic Johnson runs a $600 million a year business. He did not need the money. What happens? Stuff gets a little bit tight, a little bit too stressful, and out of the blue, the last game of the season, Irvin Magic announces, I'm out of here. And he comes on First Take, and he says, I don't need this.
He has options.
I don't need this because I have options. People are making a mistake when they assume megastars who've made big-time money just want to play so bad that they want to come to work every day to an environment they don't enjoy. Making them happy matters. And Green Bay's going to find that out with Aaron Rodgers if they don't know it already.
He's never going to have to sit out. I keep trying to tell people this. It's like knocking my head against the wall. He's not going to have to sit out. The Packers have to know that, well, what's he going to? He's going to play. He'll be good. Sure. Let's say he decides to play. Can you win a Super Bowl with a quarterback who's publicly stated, I don't want to be here? You can't. You're not going to win a Super Bowl that way. And this team is built to win a Super Bowl right now. They keep knocking on the door. NFC Championship games. So what will dawn on the Packers eventually is that Rodgers hasn't gotten the message yet. Believe me, it'll dawn on them eventually. Rodgers decides. He chooses. He's going to get to choose. What do I mean by that? He's going to instruct the Packers where he wants to play next year. I guarantee you he'll be playing for whatever team he says. It's the Packers' job to convince him to say the name Packers. In other words, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the Packers, if they humble themselves publicly, can convince Rodgers to stay, but then he will choose to stay. Or he will tell them, trade me to the Broncos or whoever. And I guarantee you that's where he goes. The same thing I said about Harden in Houston. Same thing I said about AD with the Pelicans. What those teams didn't understand early on is that player will absolutely and necessarily instruct them. This is where I'm playing next year. And it's 100% certainty they will play there next year. Because all they need to do is let the other teams know, no, I don't want to play there. And they're not going to give up the farm for him. And you can't win with a guy who doesn't want to be there. Rodgers will play for whomever he wants. The Packers' job is now to convince him, the deciding one, that it should be Green Bay.
Listen, I totally hear what both of you guys are saying. And I do, Stephen A., your point about him being disrespected, totally agree with you. I've been saying it the entire time. Here's where the argument for both of you guys and mine differ. When you look at the who you were doing it with and not necessarily the what, the who isn't just the Packers organization. He has relationship with all of those players as well. The 4 or 5 other guys who didn't go to OTAs, the receivers who didn't go to OTAs, David Bakhtiari, the starting left tackle, the defensive guys, the equipment guys, the trainers, the food service. Everybody in the building knows Aaron Rodgers and have been around Aaron Rodgers for the last 16 years. He cares about those people. He just said it when he's on there talking to me. He cares about relationships. Well, his most important relationships in his adult life have pretty much been in Green Bay. So does he like the GM for the Packers? I don't know. But can he win with that guy? Absolutely he can win. He just did it last year. Just look no further than last year. You think he was happy-go-lucky every time he walked in that building thinking about what they had done drafting Jordan Love and the way they had gone about it? Absolutely not. But is he a professional enough to continue to win as a Green Bay Packer? He absolutely is. And I think when all of this boils down, I think the loyalty he will have to the teammates in the building, the Devontae Adams, the Jones, the guys that he's been playing with, and they're right on the cusp. Right? If Bakhtiari is healthy against the Buccaneers, they probably end up winning that game and playing in the Super Bowl. When your left tackle goes down and the Buccaneers, dismantle you and get sacks all over Aaron Rodgers. But this team is that close. Guys, when you go to start to rebuild, he has to go rebuild all of those relationships. Whether you believe it or not, when you walk in that, when you walk in that building, you have to start and foster new relationships. He already has those built in Green Bay. So as disenfranchised as he is right now, with the organization, with the front office, with Mark Murphy or whoever else he's upset with, I think if those guys do exactly what you said, humble themselves, get it right, he is in the best position to win and win with the guys that he knows and he wants to go win with, right? He understands how close they already are. So I understand he's been disrespected. I completely agree with it. I do believe it's a relationship, but I think it's going to go even a step further for the guys that he's playing with, that he looks sideline to sideline with and in the huddle each and every Sunday and Monday night.
Well, the only quick comment I'd like to make to retort that is that, Jeff, you know this. Aaron Rodgers knew all of that before he took this position. He's been biting his tongue for years. If it was something that just happened and it was just impromptu and it was an emotional reaction, I get where you're coming from. But if Jeff Saturday was inclined to take this position, I have to look at Jeff Saturday's career. I have to look at the amount of time you spent in this position with these players before you finally decided to speak out. I'm saying that all of those things, in my opinion, were taken into consideration before he decided to take the position he took publicly. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing quickly to wrap this up. Oh, do you want to respond, Jeff? Go ahead if you do.
Yeah, no, and listen, Stephen, that's well put. The only difference I would say is he knows from a leverage perspective, he's got the GM where he wants him. And a public apology of, hey, I really messed this up from a relational perspective, and here's how I'm going to be better moving forward. I'm new to this as well. I think is ultimately what's going to spark the relationship to at least get it where they can get back in the building together and move this thing forward.
Do you think Gutekunst is going to apologize?
Hey,
I do.
Listen, he absolutely should. And you know why? Let me tell you this, too. Think about Jerry Jones a long time ago when on these Super Bowl runs. And pride jumped in front of it with Jimmy Johnson. And look at what has happened to Cowboys. Look no further than that. One of the greatest franchise, one of the greatest runs. The Packers are forced to be in that same type of vein. For you to just act like pride is going to you better know Jordan Love is going to take you to the next level. Otherwise, you have sunk the ship that you're ultimately trying to be the captain on. No way. If I'm him, I'm apologizing. No questions asked.
Let me just say two things quickly. Gutekunst has already said he mishandled the Jordan Love drafting, or at least how he communicated that to Aaron Rodgers. And I also want to add, I mentioned that Aaron Rodgers isn't at OTAs, and he normally is. His top receivers aren't there either. So what kind of position is that also putting Jordan Love in if he is the guy that's going to be under center? So it's a hot mess there, and it shows the loyalty also to Aaron Rodgers.
Well, Packers will do as told.
Well, you said
Rodgers will tell him what to do.
Well, Molly, you said Gutekunst, he's already apologized, but apparently it's not good enough.
Yeah. Later the show, Kendrick Perkins back to discuss this series, Sixers, Wizards. How do we see that all shaking out? And wait until you hear what New York City's mayor had to say about Trae Young. Stephen A. Smith. Hit the claw, Kawhi Leonard dropping 41. The Clippers are quietly down 0-2. And did I mention both those games were played in L.A.? Now they shift to Dallas, Stephen A's spot. Kawhi, what's the deal?
Just making sure that we stand even killed. You know what I mean? It's playoff basketball. We just got to figure it out. Just got to stay focused and make sure that we keep an eye on the prize.
Maximus. How much of Kawhi's reputation is on the line here?
Would you like me to start this, or would you like to start?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
The fact of the matter is, Kawhi can't lose in the first round and have his reputation intact. because the topmost tier players, LeBron and KD, for example, never get bounced in the first. However, I will point out, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Giannis, those kind of guys can get bounced in the first round. And Kawhi, with Jimmy Butler, those kind of guys can get bounced in the first round. And you know the difference between Kawhi and all those other guys? Kawhi's a 2-time Finals MVP. 2 times. I'm not trying to hear, well, KD got hurt and Clay got hurt, because Kawhi's never been on. You know how many Finals MVPs KD has won? 2. 2 times. Didn't deserve one of them. Maybe deserved the other. And was on a squad so loaded, like Kawhi's never been on a squad like that.
Wouldn't KD not deserve the NBA Finals MVP?
The first time he went up against LeBron, and LeBron was obviously the best player on the floor, but KD was on a much better team.
But they lost. KD won, and he averaged 35 on 50.
And LeBron was better. He should have been the MVP.
35.
But, okay, I got it. He was on a team that couldn't lose, and he was the best player on the team. Couldn't lose. He was the best player. He joined a 70.
Settle down, gentlemen.
You gave him more flack for that than anyone. I'm not trying to hear that from you. From you, as you would say. Yes, Kawhi's reputation takes a hit, but Kawhi would still be, he would not be on tier 1. He would be on the tier right below, maybe a half step below. He is not a point guard. He cannot make Ty Lue put Rondo in the game, which is what Rondo's there for. He is an offensive and defensive weapon, and in that capacity is about as good as it gets. He's a 2-time Finals MVP who consistently is among the best playoff performers ever. So I'm not going to pretend getting bounced in the first round doesn't take a hit. You take a hit, but not like you're about to tell me.
A part of me wish I had a pillow and some footies so I could just go to sleep with some of the takes that you give sometimes about basketball. Okay? Because it's ridiculous.
To sleep.
It's ridiculous. The other part is the level of inconsistency, but that's neither here nor there. As it pertains to the Clippers, before I even get into Kawhi specifically, let me have my brother Snoop Dogg speak for me. Kick that video, please.
Laker to a Clipper, man, I can't be faded. Come on, man. We're talking about the Clippers, the team that has 0 banners, that are the opening night champions for 14 years straight, have no banners, no nothing. Kawhi's a great player. Paul George is a great player. They got great coaches, and the homies on their team, they do a great job, but they're not the Lakers, man. It's just something about that purple and gold, man, and it's like, they need to get a whole new stadium and get a whole new stigma, because they're never going to win playing in our living room.
So I got my brother Snoop Dogg talking about how they need a new residence, probably need a new city, damn sure need a new team, because they ain't going to do anything in L.A. And who arrived in L.A. vowing that times had changed with the convertible and the crown dangling from the mirror? Let me tell y'all something right now. Kawhi Leonard don't win this series. He get bounced out in the first round. You damn right that reputation is going to be hurt. Now, he's a champion, and we understand that. But this is the part that annoys me, Max, and I want you, and I'm going to be very serious when I say this to you. I'm not going to play around. I'm going to be very serious to you when I say this, Max Kellerman. You need to be careful with the stuff that comes out of your mouth when you say the kind of things that you just said, because you're giving the players a license, Max, to do the same. Like, for example, remember how I used to lament LeBron was guilty of this once upon a time, and others have been guilty of this too. You know, Russell Westbrook and others are guilty of this. You talking about basketball, and when you praising them, it's all good. When you critical, well, I'm just trying to be a role model, and I'm just trying to make sure that, you know, I give back in the contribution to the community. Wait. We appreciate that, but we can't talk basketball. We can't talk basketball. Nobody is saying that Kawhi Leonard is not great. No one is saying that he's not a champion. No one's forgotten that he's a 2-time league NBA MVP, NBA Finals MVP. What we're saying is, wait a minute. You arrived in LA with a mission. And it was to elevate the level of relevancy as it pertained to the Clippers. It was to get them to the conference finals for the first time in franchise history. It was to get them to the finals for the first time in franchise history. It was to deliver a chip for the first time in franchise history. And you up 3-1. You going to get bounced out in the second round of Denver. Prior to that, you on the court against Luka Doncic. He giving it to you. This year, This year, you come into the postseason, y'all lose the last 2 games of the regular season to avoid the Lakers and ask for the Dallas Mavericks. Luka knew it. Porzingis knew it. And, you know, Tim Hardaway Jr., you dropped 28 last night. He knew it. You know, I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith knew it. You look at these guys, and Luka gets on the court. He ain't just, as you would say, Max, he ain't just dropping buckets. What is he doing, Max? He's cussing them out in Slovenia. What can I
use? In languages we don't understand. Foreign tongues.
Molly, he pointing in their face. He talking about them.
He's Patrick Mahomes.
Look, hey, how about this? Patrick Mahomes, the great Patrick Mahomes, Max, came to the Staples Center to see him, not Kawhi. Not Kawhi. Oh, no. He came to see him. He came from Kansas City to L.A. He came from Kansas City to L.A. to see
No, that was game recognized game. Mahomes.
All I'm trying to say to you, Molly, Luka Doncic is 22 years old. And he's getting on the court. He's not just scoring. He's not just winning. He's talking smack to you while giving it to you.
And he's also a point guard.
They beat him 4 times. They beat him 4 out of 5 times this year. They going at it, and he's talking to. He's cussing them out of Slovenia. That's what he's doing, man. I mean, come on.
Hold on.
You're not going to do anything. Let me ask you a question. When you say that and you take what I just said, who are we supposed to look at to say, enough of this? Who's that person supposed to be in the Clippers?
Right now, it's Ty Lue.
Come on,
That's
Max.
why you got Rondo.
Max, I asked you.
That's why you got Rondo.
I asked you.
Because Kawhi is not a primary ball handler.
Basketball-wise, I'm asking you. If you talking smack, Max.
Oh, you saying who's supposed to get you?
Who's supposed to be like,
but let me,
I got this.
Hold on.
Let me shut this down right now. Who's supposed to be that guy?
Let me point out. Kawhi went for 41 on 14 of 21 shooting.
Had 31 in the 32 in the first half.
What did Luka do against Kawhi?
Had 31,
you're making this very one way. Look, Kawhi.
In the second half, it was.
Kawhi played great, and I want to tell you something else about Kawhi.
Okay.
Let's just look at not just in the finals where he's a 2-time Finals MVP.
Right.
Okay. Right. But throughout playoff series. I just want to read some stuff to you. Okay. This is what Kawhi is. He's not a primary ball handler. He's not a leader the way Stephen A wants him to be. But this is what he does. Lifetime, he's shooting 40% from 3. Lifetime. Okay. How does this sound? This is every playoff series. 34-8, 24-9, 33-10, 29-10, 30-10, 35-10, 28-7, 26-8. I'm going back years now. 24-10, 31-6. The dude is not just a great playoff performer. He's one of the greatest playoff performers in the history of team sports in that he plays at a certain very high, maybe a half step below MVP level in the regular season. And in the playoffs, he puts up all-time great numbers. Now, his position, it's almost like going back and yelling at Dr. J for not winning more. He's not a primary ball handler. He's a scoring forward who plays defense.
Stephen A just thinks Luka's the better show.
Max.
Well, he is right now.
Luka's the better show.
Luka is a better show right now.
Luka's the better player in this series. And me recognizing every word you just said about Kawhi is on point. He's one of the great players in the game today. I'm not taking anything away from what he has done. What I am saying is, Kawhi Leonard came to L.A. on a mission. He has fallen flagrantly short of completing that mission, number one. And number two, there is a 22-year-old on the court who is playing better than him, busting their butt. And by the way, I'm going to put it here, who's on the verge of sweeping him in the first round.
Well, you know, maybe they shouldn't have avoided the Lakers in the first round.
But also, hold on. Luka is, throughout his career at his age, arguably the best player who ever plays on a very short list of the best players ever at every age he's played in the NBA.
Do y'all understand? Do y'all understand that the Clippers, if they don't win Friday night, they might get swept.
All right, but I want to see Luka win some Finals MVPs. Kawhi's got 2, not 1, 2.
Okay.
I'm talking about right now.
Here on First Take.
Right now.
The 76ers walked away with a hard-fought Game 1 win.
What that got to do with right
versus
now?
Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal in the Wiz. We're bringing in our guy Big Perk to talk about tonight's They got 37 from Tobias Harris and 30 from Joel Embiid in the Game 1 win over the Wizards. A win's a win, y'all, but it might have been closer than many expected with the Wiz playing tough and Bradley Beal putting up 33 points. It is time now for Carry On. Big Perk here for a segment. Hey, Perk, let's go.
What's up, Molly?
Go ahead, man. We waiting for you to tell us to carry on. We waiting.
Carry the hell on.
All right, first of all, watch your tone, okay? But since you
I just said your words.
Here, at least start carrying.
Philadelphia 76ers winning the series, but I don't have them winning the game tonight. The Washington Wizards is going to win the game tonight because of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. This dynamic backcourt, they have the confidence. They played them close in game 1. They see that they could beat them. I don't know if Tobias Harris could go for 37 again. I got the Washington Wizards winning this game tonight in good fashion. Carry on.
Hell no. It ain't happening, okay? The Washington Wizards, I'm not going to disrespect Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal by thinking they're going to get swept. I think those brothers are lethal together, one of the top 3 backcourts in the game of basketball. And as a result, I'm going to show them the respect of saying they'll get you one. But it ain't going to be in Philly. It ain't going to be in the city of brotherly love. When they get back to the nation's capital, I think it'll happen then. It will not happen in Philadelphia. Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Thibault, and the crew, they gonna shut it down. The Wizards are not winning tonight. They might, they win game 3 or 4, but they ain't winning tonight. And so expect a text from me, if not a text, a tweet from me, Kendrick Perkins, this evening saying to you, what the hell you mean carry on? You carry on. Because it ain't happening.
Well, as much as it pains me to agree with either one of you, Stephen A is right on this. Russell Westbrook will get one. He'll get one the way Iverson got one against the Lakers once upon a time. He'll get one. It's not going to be at Philly, I don't think. Look, they're 8-point favorites, the Sixers. You know what, Perk? I think they'll cover. I think Washington will make it closer than 8 points. But they're not going to beat Philadelphia. And Philly's on the weak side of the bracket, and they still have some problems on offense, I think, in the playoffs ahead of them. Because Ben Simmons, if he's in the dunker spot, then where's Embiid? And is he on the perimeter or is he down low where he belongs? Things like that. That'll bother them when they get to the conference finals. But for right now, they're going to roll. And that includes Washington. Washington will get one. It ain't going to be in game 2 at home or on the road.
Well, I know one thing. I said what I said, and I meant what I said. That's the first thing. Second of all, no one, including myself, I didn't think that the Wizards was going to even be in the game in game 1. I thought it was going to be a blowout.
I didn't. Me neither.
They came out with a mindset that they're coming out there to handle business. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid has them beef. And we already know how Russell Westbrook attacks the game. You think he's afraid to go down there and handle his business in Philly? One thing I know about Scott Brooks, people can say what they want about him. He has
Perk, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question, okay? Because you played for both coaches. Who's better at making adjustments? Who do you expect to make the better adjustments game 2?
Listen, I played for both of them that both had winning records when I played with them, okay? So I played with Scott Brooks in Oklahoma City that went to multiple conference finals, that went to a conference finals with a young OKC. I won a ring with Doc Rivers that also had Tom Thibodeau on his side, by the way, who's, by the way, in New York. So at the end of the day, Philly ain't strapping up.
And there's a question. You didn't answer the question. Who's going to make better adjustments game 2? Who do you have more confidence in?
Max, if I got the Wizards winning, then that should tell you my answer.
No.
He didn't
Scotty
answer the question. It takes one to know one.
Doc Rivers.
Kendrick Perkins, number one, let's not forget that the Sixers had a full week off before they played game 1, so rust could have been applicable there. And that's why I thought the game was going to be close, and it ended up being close. That's number one. Number two, I don't anticipate that'll be the case tonight. Because I think they got their feet under them, and I think that the Wizards' best chance to win in the game in this series is when they go back to the nation's capital. Last point is a separate point. Scott Brooks was the coach in Oklahoma City who did guide this team to a conference title on at least a couple occasions. I'm wondering with Russell Westbrook there, why did Sam Presti and the OKC Thunder elect to let go of Scott Brooks in favor of Billy Donovan? Maybe one day you'll enlighten me as to why that happened.
Well, I enlighten you on one thing. I know if Scott Brooks was there when they were up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors,
you'd have won.
They wouldn't have blew that damn series.
I agree with that. I totally agree with you.
But you know what?
Totally agree with you there.
When Max disagree, my grandpa always told me, when 2 men or 3 men disagree, the next word is bet, okay? Bet. And we'll talk about that later.
Hold on.
Washington,
hold on. I'll bet you on that, my brother. A matter of fact, remember how I told you I would take you to get some shirts because I need you with some new shirts? Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
Okay, fashion.
Are you ready for this? I'll throw in a blazer. I'll throw in a blazer.
Careful, Stephen A.
I'll throw in a blazer.
Hold on. Are we talking about you going to Tom Ford or
wherever KP wants? Wherever KP wants. We can have that bet. Ain't nobody want that from you.
Do you get points? You get the 8 points or no?
Max, we're not doing all that.
We're not doing all that.
Well,
I'm going to just throw that in there. We didn't throw that in.
I'll take that.
You trying to sit there and define the bet for us.
That's right.
You don't get to do that.
8-point favorites. That's how it works.
Can you please explain to the fashion police that you don't buy off the rack, you need custom? First things first, we're not going to stores. He's an NBA player.
Whoa. Stop. Hold on. Stop.
Married to an NBA
That was
player.
very insulting. You crossed the line there.
No, I didn't. I'm married to an NBA player. You know how hard it is to get
You know me well enough. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You took me shopping one year.
I did.
You know that I know. You know that I know how to shop, and you know I don't go to cheap route. And you know I don't go to cheap route.
She's saying you can't go to a name brand store. You got to go. You can't get off the rack.
I'm gonna get him custom fit for a blazer.
Okay.
Custom fit.
Bespoke.
Big perk.
Bespoke.
I'm gonna get him custom fit for a blazer if the Wizards win the night.
I know some spots out here in New York.
You're made to measure, Steve.
And that's a big deal for me because I love Bradley Beal. I believe in Bradley Beal, and I know what a stud Russ is. I'm not saying they're going to get swept. They ain't winning the night.
You see the producers, they hate us right now. They're bored with our conversation.
So?
Just rolled on being on the show. You guys got me all screwed up now. What else is happening here? The #1 seed Utah Jazz. About time we talk about them. Finally get Donovan Mitchell back. But will he even be the most important player in tonight's pivotal game, too? The guy's not seeing eye. Things getting heated in NYC. That was Mayor Bill de Blasio going after Trae Young after his Game 1 heroics. Now the villain of MSG, that will be Trae Young's daddy. Rayford had this to say to the New York Daily News, quote, he loves it. When they did it to Reggie Miller was in his prime. He was 28, 29 years old near the back end of his career. They're going to have to see Trae for the next 10 or 15 years. Stephen A. Smith, your Knickerbockers. Fans, they finally have their villain, their loud, angry New Yorkers like yourself and Max Kellerman, and they're ready for a little rallying call. So
well, first of all, a couple of things we got to get out of the way. Don't listen to Mayor de Blasio. We can't wait for you to leave office any damn way, okay? Oh, and by the way, if you're going to sit up there and try to give the Knicks some encouragement, what the hell you bringing up Steve Nash for? He's in Brooklyn with the Nets. We're talking about the Knicks here. You, Trae Young, he has been playing the right way. Looking for fouls is the right way to go. Shooting those threes is the right thing to do. Getting in the lane, dropping those floaters is the right thing to do. Throwing those dime pieces is the right thing to do. If you are the New York Knicks, you got to clamp down. You got to sit up there. You got to double him. You got to get the ball out of his hands. You got to force somebody else to make the play. Julius Randle, there's 2 All-Stars in this series. Only one showed up in Game 1. What you going to do in Game 2, baby? What are you going to do in Game 2? It's your time. Most improved player of the year. You got my vote in that category. You deserved it. Now it's time to show up and prove it. By the way, that was a beautiful thing with your son coming to deliver you the trophy for the most improved award. I'm telling you, that's my league MVP. Your son, Julius Randle. That's a special, beautiful kid right there. But you got to show up in Game 2. Oh, by the way, if you're Tom Thibodeau, how about doing this? Elfrid Payton, we like you. We appreciate the job that you did this year. But over the last month and a half or so, you struggled pretty miserably. Time to sit you down. Time to sit you down. And what it's time to do now is put Derrick Rose up in there real quickly. Let them play a vast majority as backcourt mates. Start Derrick Rose and get this party started a bit earlier. R.J. Barrett, the dunk was nice, brother, but we need you to hit some more of those perimeter shots. And Alec Burks, excuse me, Tom Thibodeau, get that man the ball Keep giving him the ball because he's one of the guys that you can rely on from a perimeter shot. It's game 2, baby. It's the Knicks. We coming. New York, stand up. New York, stand up. ATL, we coming. We coming, ATL. Okay. We coming. We going to handle our business tonight in game 2. We going to take you down. Then we coming down to the ATL and we taking over. We taking over. New York, stand up. New York, stand up. Here we come. Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
New York could be standing up because of the Brooklyn Nets, but let me tell you something, Stephen A., and everybody for that matter. I don't root for the Knicks as long as Dolan owns that team. Through had Charles Oakley arrested, basically. I don't root for the Knicks till Dolan sells the team.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing at him over here.
Well, that's how I feel. Like, I never heard Steinbrenner threw Paul O'Neill out of Yankee Stadium or had him arrested or anything like that, right? But let me tell you why I'm not even focused on the Knicks, because the Nets are going to rep New York. I'm focused on de Blasio. The nerve of this man. One of the most humiliating things in the history of New York City. Like, when Bloomberg became mayor, he at least had the decency to say, okay, look, I was a Red Sox fan. I'm mayor of New York now. I'm a Yankees fan. Put on the hat. De Blasio refused in open defiance of New York City. Got elected mayor and refused and said he's still a Red Sox fan.
I like loyal people.
The worst thing, that's because you're not a New Yorker. The worst thing that ever happened in New York politically that way is that the mayor of New York roots openly for the Red Sox. It's not, it's intolerable. He should be impeached for that alone. And he has the nerve to open his mouth about another New York team?
And then brings up the other New York team to talk about that New York team.
I kind of loved it. I love what de Blasio did there.
Well, I can't wait till he gets out of office, personally.
Okay, I'm not worried about the politics.
I'm not
Red Sox thing alone.
But I will tell you this. Trae Young is not playing the wrong way. He is playing the right way. Part of playing the right way is being able to draw fouls. I mean, de Blasio clearly doesn't know basketball. That's part of playing the right way. So the New York Knicks better stop this, brother, because let me tell you something right now. We didn't give Trae Young enough shine and enough praise because we've spent too much of the last 2 or 3 years talking about the draft day trade that involved Atlanta and Dallas.
He does hunt
where he got Luka Doncic. They got Luka Doncic. But Trae Young averaged 25 this year. Trae Young can ball. Trae Young can make.
I can't get past the de Blasio thing. I'm sorry. When I was mayor of L.A., I gave up the Knicks for the Lakers.
Oh, my goodness.
I was mayor of Los Angeles. I gave up the Knicks for the Lakers.
Y'all are hilarious. Stephen A., did the Knicks even the series tonight? We only have a couple minutes.
Absolutely. And I will be there.
Oh, God.
And we will close this out. The New York Knicks will show. They ain't going down to the ATL 0-2. They ain't going down. We coming down. We winning tonight. And then after that, Friday, we roll up at the Phillips Arena in the ATL. And oh, by the way, New York's in the building. It'll be more Knicks fans in attendance at the Phillips Arena than it will be Atlanta Hawks fans. We in the building. We coming.
The Knicks?
ATL,
we coming.
I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of jealous. I need to go to some games.
The Knicks better win the game.
I agree with that.
Because
I agree with that.
Atlanta already got the split on the road. And I think the Knicks win this series in 7. I'm right on the fence. They lost game 1 at home, maybe Atlanta in 7. It's a real long. But if the Knicks go down 0-2 at home to a lower seed,
important thing to say. Important thing to say.
We got to go.
Atlanta has better talent.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
They're just younger and inexperienced, and that's why the Knicks are going to win this series. They have better talent.
Right.
They're younger, and they're going to
lose. You were just jumping
quickly. Barrett, Randall.
The show. You're done. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, or Kevin Durant and James Harden, which is the best duo in the NBA? Stephen A. on one side.
Hell with them.
Max on the other. Can't wait. Settle.
Knicks stand up.
Self down.
Knicks stand
up.
Don't
have any adult beverages tonight. There's nobody in the NFL more electrifying and must-see TV than Patrick freaking Mahomes. But is there someone in the NBA that is just as unbelievable? Don't miss that.
Final nail right there.
LeBron James and the Lakers back in form, evening up the series with the Suns. AD made good on his word, redeemed his game 1 performance, scoring 34 points, grabbing 10 rebounds. LeBron added 23 while dishing out 9 assists. So we have Big Perk back here with us. I think we will momentarily, but meanwhile, I'm going to start with you, sir. That would be you, Max Kellerman. Are LeBron and AD the best duo in the NBA?
Yes, until proven otherwise. They're the defending champions. LeBron James is, other than Michael Jordan, the greatest player who ever lived, and AD is an MVP caliber player in his prime. that's the best combination. And if you think it's not the best combination, look what happened last year in the playoffs. You know, you had a Denver team that won a great series against Utah that then upset the Clippers, and it looked like they're the cardiac kids. Even when they're down 10, they have you right where they want you, and they were coming back on the... No, Lakers took care of them in 5. In fact, the Lakers gentlemen swept the Western Conference before beating the Heat. No one took them 7. 4-1-4, 1-4, 1-4, 2. LeBron James, the best player in the game until further notice, and AD are the best combination in the NBA.
On paper, I think that we have to look at them and their resume, yes.
Hi, Perk.
But I'm just telling you, based on what I'm seeing, maybe it's because of LeBron James and AD's questionable health. Even though they're back and they're playing and they're healthy enough to play, they're clearly not 100%. I'm thinking about KD and Harden. And I'm like, I can't summarily, and I've got to throw Kyrie in there, KD, Kyrie. I can't summarily dismiss them. I'm telling you right now, I will say this. I think that once this season is over, we may very well be calling somebody else the dynamic duo other than LeBron and AD, because I'm just a believer in Kevin Durant.
But what are you saying right now, though? Max is saying LeBron and Anthony Davis. Where are you?
I would tell you right now, if I had to pick I would want, the dynamic duo, it would be KD with James Harden rather than LeBron.
But not Kyrie, not KD and Kyrie.
Because it's small, because Kyrie's small.
He said, where are you at, Perk?
Well, I just can't believe the stuff I'm hearing from Stephen A right now, okay? And I agree with Matt. For the simple fact that when you look at LeBron and AD, right, and you look at KD and James or KD and Kyrie, I get it. They impact the game offensively, all right? Anthony Davis and LeBron James, not only do they impact the game offensively, but they impact the game in a tremendous way on the defensive side of things. And this is why they're the #1 defensive team in the league. Last night, they held the Phoenix Suns in the first, second, and third quarter under 25 points. Do you know how hard that is to do in today's game? And they would have done it in the fourth quarter if it wouldn't have been for those bonehead fouls by KCP and Dennis Schroeder fouling Devin Booker shooting the 3-point shot attempts. And I'm looking at it, and it's because of LeBron talking people through rotations. And then you talk about Anthony Davis, right? He could arguably win Defensive Player of the Year every single year, because there's no one in the league that does what he does on the defensive side of things. The way that he's able to switch 1 through 5, guard smaller guys, guard guys and protect the paint in the interior, the way that he's able to cover ground. So not only are they both giving you 25 plus a night on the offensive end, they're impacting the defensive area too, Stephen A. And that's why I have to give them the edge of being the best duo in the NBA.
I don't mind standing down when you bring up defense, because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to front. I wasn't even thinking about it. You're absolutely right in terms of overall. I was just speaking strictly offensively with what KD and James Harden brings to the table, and what I'd rather have now, it's that dynamic duo as opposed to LeBron and AD. But I can't say anything about that defensively other than this one point. You said that the Lakers were the top defense in the league. I got news for you. #1 in points forfeited in the league would be the New York Knicks. It's just important to remember that. I think it's important to remember that. The New York Knicks are the #1 defense. It's not the Los Angeles Lakers. It's not the Los Angeles Lakers.
You're right about,
it's the New York Knicks. That's the #1 defense in points allowed in the NBA. KP, is that correct? Is that correct?
And look, points allowed and just overall is two different things, Stephen A. And look, they're the #1. The New York Knicks are the #1.
I got to take it how I can get it.
The New York Knicks are the #1 defense until they have to.
Okay, can we stop right there? Can we stop right there? Let's not rain on my parade. Let's not rain on my parade, KP. Let's not rain. Did I do that to you? Did I come to Texas raining on your parade? Let me have this, man. I said the New York Knicks don't get technical with me. They're #1 in points allowed.
But you know what, Molly? I want to point out, New York stand up, New York stand up. And when it came to saying who's the best duo other than AD and LeBron, Stephen A correctly says KD and Harden. And by the end of this season, by the end of this postseason, Perk, I'm afraid he's going to be right. KD and Harden, by the end of this playoff, he'll be right.
I have breaking news. I'm in the process of reaching out to James Dolan and the New York Knicks. I might have to sit courtside tonight. I might have to sit courtside tonight. I might have to. I think they need me. I might have to be courtside.
He's going to step over the body of Charles Oakley.
I can see what I can do.
Courtside.
I got to see what I can do about sitting with Spike Lee and the crew. You know, Al Pagone, you know. I got to see what I can do about sitting courtside. I think they might need me tonight. Y'all might see us cited because I've never sat courtside for Nick. I might have to come out of pocket and sit courtside tonight. I think it's important.
If you do
I think it's important. I think I need to be there like that. I just do.
If you
I'm
do
just feeling that right now.
Stephen A., don't say anything to Trae Young. That's a piece of advice.
I know better than that. I know better than that. I would never do that. And not only that, I'm a professional. So I'm not going to sit up there. The level of decorum has to be exercised. But I think the Knicks need to come out of that tunnel and they need to see me right there.
Okay.
They need to see me.
New York, stand up.
New York, stand up. That's what it is.
Brooklyn
Can we please get to Donovan Mitchell from my
Okay,
stomping ground?
not Utah.
Donovan Mitchell, Boys and Girls Club
Look at that
guy.
jacket right there, Molly.
He's
Look at that
expected.
jacket.
You're getting one. You're getting everything you want to return tonight for the Jazz after being held out game one. As he returns, did you guys listen? Donovan Mitchell is returning from the sprained ankle. This is actually important stuff. Yeah. He was upset at the Jazz for not clearing him, and they lost to the Grizz. John Morant, whose playoff prowess, excuse me, can do what? I'm trying. Like, you're messing me up. I actually have to impress bosses.
You have on the beautiful yellow, and he's got yellow in the jacket, and you don't mention the HBCU jacket.
We're about to travel to all these HBCUs. We show so much love. We're the HBCU Pride show. Am I right?
Yes, we are.
Aren't you the ambassador for HBCUs?
Yes,
are we not about to start traveling and doing that?
Yes, and we're going to get that jacket. That jacket will look pretty fly on you, Mom.
All respect. I would love the jacket. Size medium.
It's a good-looking jacket.
I'll even do a large and do oversized. Okay.
UConn.
Oh. Don't hate on UConn.
I'm not hating on UConn.
To hate on UConn.
Somebody's just a bit bougie about UConn.
Don't even try.
Stores.
Okay, just settle down. Stephen A., who's going to have a bigger impact tonight? I'm sorry to our producers. I'm sorry, Sam. Ja or Mitchell?
Ja. I mean.
Why?
Donovan Mitchell's been out for a while.
Yeah, he's back. He's fresh. He's ready
No,
to
he's
go.
not fresh. He's rusty.
Yeah.
He's very, very rusty.
Fresh legs.
Don't get me wrong. He will have an impact on the series. Donovan Mitchell is a star. We understand that. But this particular game, I think Ja has already put us all on notice that his coming out party is here. We saw him in the play-in game against Golden State. We saw him in game one, even though he had a lot of help from Dylan Brooks, and props to Dylan Brooks for that. And I love Memphis guts and moxie. Ain't scared of nobody. But Ja Morant is coming. Yeah. He's the reigning rookie of the year. He's special. He's in rhythm. He's in flow. And for this particular night, I would go with Ja Morant. Not to win. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying in terms of who's going to have the better game.
That makes sense.
I think it's Ja Morant.
That's rational, and it goes along with Perk, what you said yesterday. And I was thinking we're just going to take him a couple of games at least, but I'm going to go out on a limb and just say it's going to be Donovan Mitchell because he's a psychopath. Donovan Mitchell in the big games with the bright lights goes unconscious. I'm not going to forget what he did last year, and I'm going to go ahead and say, against all odds, walking in cold, Mitchell's going to light it up.
What are you doing?
Well, you know what?
Go ahead.
Wait,
I'm not going to sit up.
Stephen A's taking out his wallet. I'm sorry to be stepping on you, and with our delays.
I'm going to let Perk go first because I don't want to interrupt his diatribe. You go first, and then I'll tell you what I'm doing.
Go ahead, Perk. He's very distracting today. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, I don't want to deny that Donovan Mitchell is a star from what we witnessed last year in the playoffs. But look, coming back off an injury and having played at a high level, having been able to get those reps in, I got to take Ja Morant on this one because we have to realize Dylan Brooks is not no pushover when it comes on the defensive side of things. He just went through having to guard Steph Curry, who's probably the toughest guard in the NBA right now for us anybody having to match up with him one-on-one. And with Donovan Mitchell coming back without getting those reps in, and Memphis already been playing at an extremely high level for over a month now because they had to get into the play-in tournament, play the play-in tournament, and now into the postseason, it's going to be hard for Donovan Mitchell to stand out tonight.
I totally agree with Kendrick Perkins, or shall I say he totally agrees with me. The brother is smart. He's very wise. His basketball analysis is astute, and we got that. All I want to say is this: New York, stand up. I'm just making arrangements right now. I'm gonna come out of pocket. I'm gonna come out of pocket, Max.
You're about to take out the
I'm going courtside
Express?
tonight. I'm going courtside tonight. I'm going courtside tonight for the Garden, Perk. I think they need me. I think they need me, Perk. I think they need me.
Yeah.
You know?
If you were really that dude, you'd be purchasing tickets for your counterparts over here.
No, not you two.
Why not?
You don't care about nothing but UConn, and this dude's a traitor. Hell no. I would leave y'all out in the street.
I just root for UConn players in the NBA.
I wouldn't leave you out in the street. I'd put you in the upper deck where you belong.
I grew up in the nosebleeds at the Garden. I grew up in the nosebleeds at the Garden.
Instead of all the phony fancy.
And by the way, oh no, New York Knicks fans are not phony. And oh, by the way, not only will I be courtside, I might be courtside in the ATL. I think my president needs to be there too, Perk. I think that needs to happen too, Perk.
Don't act like a courtside ATL. I can get that.
Let me tell you something.
You know the
not
problem,
this series.
You know the problem I have. You know the problem I have. And look, I'm not taking anything away from the New York Knicks and what Tom Thibodeau and Worldwide West and everyone has done with the organization. And I get it. Y'all haven't been to the playoffs since 1968, and it's all good. I understand. But you know the problem I have with the Knicks fans is that can y'all show some class? Can y'all be humble?
I agree with
y'all
that.
just walk, like I'm just saying, can y'all show some class like at the playoff game and stuff like that? Do y'all have to just be so obnoxious?
I agree. Whoa. I call him out. Hold on. I agree with you. The New York Knicks fans should have never been chanting that stuff to Trae Young. Give this brother his respect and appreciation, but heckle him in a way that tries to distract him, but don't disrespect him. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We've learned the error of our ways. We gonna make amends.